Coffin Corner podcast is live here on a Monday because of the much-traveled Rany Jazayerli. You're getting us on a Monday. You know, he's a busy man. He's a busy man. He's all over the place. We'll talk some Royals baseball. They get yet another win as they open the homestand here with the Chicago White Sox, getting a W there. We'll touch a little bit on tonight's game. What the hell happened in Baltimore? Is the offense all fixed? 7 home runs in one game. Is this actually the Kansas City Royals? Where's the confidence meter on Maikel Garcia now? Vinnie coming around, couple of home runs in back-to-back games. Michael Massey, is he getting it going? Could Bobby Witt Jr. be even better this year than he was last year? We'll get some thoughts from Rany on Noah Cameron, how that affects the rotation going forward. Jac Caglianone, there are highlights. There are things to be discussed. He's red hot again. Asbel Gonzalez. Are you familiar with Asbel Gonzalez? Have you heard the man's name? You need to ask around if you haven't. We'll start to tell you what it is you need to know right here, right now. Coffin Corner Podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner Podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro. Rany is a co-founder of Baseball Prospectus, author of Rany on the Royals, and a former columnist for Grantland, The Ringer, and The Athletic. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it, get with Dave and he'll have you covered. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. And now, here are your hosts, Rany Jazayerli and Soren Petro.
All right, thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it. Off and running. And yet another win. The White Sox, down go those pesky White Sox, right? Just another professional win. Bad teams keep them losing. That's what the Royals did tonight, Rany.
Hey, it's not like you and I ever lost hope in this team. When they were 8-14, we were both like, we both had our playoff tickets pre-purchased. There was no doubt at all here. Six losses in a row for the 19th time in 22 years. And I was keeping the faith right here on this show. The recordings of which we have, of course, deleted from the internet permanently. So you can't check me for my veracity. But 12 or 14 cents.
Yeah, how about it, man?
What this is, again, credit to the team, credit to everybody there. But, Matt Quatrero just keeps adding to his legacy as a guy who just will not let this team give up, even though, you think, okay, it's April. Well, who gives up in April? I'll tell you who gives up in April. Most of the Royals teams I have watched for the last quarter century. Yeah. And they did not. If the season ended today, they would be in the playoffs. They just came off a really, really impressive road trip, sweeping the Rays, taking 2 or 3 from Baltimore, but in very impressive fashion. And like you said, coming home, nothing fancy today, just taking on a bad team and making it clear which team lost 121 games last year and which team went to the playoffs. It's a very professional win. Now, what are they, 20-16? And we had them on, we both predicted 88 wins for them this season. Before today, they were on pace for exactly 88 wins. That goes up a little bit today. So, I don't know what you can call the first quarter of the season except a success.
Yeah, I would agree. And I had this conversation with Jeff Passan on Thursday from ESPN, my Major League Baseball insider on the program. And I said, look, can we get past the, oh God, when is the next shoe going to fall? Are we at least where, hey, maybe the season won't go the way we want it to go, but okay, if they had a whole wave of injuries, they come back at 75 and 87, right? But the days of 106 losses are behind us. I think that is the case, right? Because I think there was a strong case to be made that this was a team, while being a playoff team last year, was still maybe delicate in its psyche, right? That if it didn't go its way, there could be some problems along the way, right? That do we know that they're ready to go ahead and stare down some tough days and then bounce back from it? No, We didn't, but they've done it, right? And we talked about that early schedule being difficult. Would that bury them? That one of the good things was that they had an easy schedule last year, right? After a 2-4 start, they were quickly able to get things going, and that good juju, built on itself. And was that going to be the case this year? And they came out of the gates. They had some problems. No problem, is what it turns out. They've had some injuries along the way. They've lost a key bullpen piece. They've lost Cole Reagans for a start. They have a young guy step in and get it done. Not even like some bullpen deal, where they just kind of nurse it through. System depth steps in Noah Cameron and throws a good game. And then offensively, they have not been what they were last year, right? Like they are not, maybe they are now, right? Tonight wasn't a big offensive day. Maybe they are here of late starting to find who they are offensively, but they have gotten to this point very much in the mix without being anywhere near as good as we think they can be. Not even can be, should be, right? Forget about what they can be. That's up here. Should be right here. They haven't hit like that, and yet here they are still very much in the mix. So I think we can feel good that this team has a solid foundation. They're not a flash in the pan. It was not 2003's little miracle year last season for the Kansas City Royals. It was a ball club that grossly underachieved, probably record-wise, 2 years ago. Maybe overachieved a little bit, but overachieved a little bit off a foundation that was well built. And we're seeing that foundation hold up again now.
We are, and we're really seeing what a strong and deep starting rotation can do for you. Because it feels like a fever dream that the Royals have a guy like Noah Cameron who can come up in his major league debut, go into the 7th inning without allowing a hit, and then immediately get sent back down. Because, hey, you gave up a hit, kid. You wanted to stay in the major leagues. You're going to have to throw a no-hitter. You give up one hit, you have to go back down. And Cole Reagans comes back into the rotation today and strikes out 11 batters in 5 innings. I think he's one of only 7 Royals in the history of the franchise to have 11 strikeouts through the 5th inning. And that's coming off of a sore groin that caused him to miss a start, only through like 94 pitches. To me, that was what was so exasperating about that 6-game losing streak, is that the best defense against a long losing streak is simply having a starting pitcher every single night that keeps you in a game, right? What turns a slump into an extended losing streak is when you just get your head bashed in every night because you're giving up 7 runs in the first 5 innings of the game. But when you can go out there and every starter, you can go 6 innings, you give up 2 runs, you have the ability to weather an offensive slump, even as bad an offensive slump as the Royals had to start this season. I mean, the Atlanta Braves famously went something like, somebody maybe can look this up, something like 15 consecutive seasons under Bobby Cox from like the early 90s to like the mid-aughts without a 7-game losing streak. That which, was a lot of it, and it was given credit to Bobby Cox for just being the kind of manager who would not let his team lose 7 games in a row. Meanwhile, this was at a time when the Royals were having a 7-game losing streak like multiple times per season, and the Braves went like 15 years without doing it. But right. I don't think you have to be Sherlock Holmes to connect the dots between one of maybe the greatest pitching staff over an extended period of time in Major League history, like a decade of Smoltz and Maddox and Glavine, and then Kevin Millwood and Denny Nagel. Like, they never went more than like 2 games without a Hall of Fame pitcher on the mound. Between that and having, never having an extended losing streak. And so it was, frustrating when the Royals lost 6 in a row, despite having all of their starters healthy and able to do it. But at this moment in time, it looks like just a fluke that the offense was ice cold for a while. And as soon as they got their bearings, they realized, hey, we got Seth Lugo tonight. Well, tomorrow we've got Michael Wacha. Well, we got Cole Reagans. It's in 3 days. Like, every single game you start out with, at the very least, even with the other team on the mound, and usually with an advantage. And when you're going up against subpar teams, I mean, they're just squeezing them. The way they put the squeeze on the Rays, the one game they give up a bunch of runs to the Orioles, they decided to launch, their own home run derby. And then today, another shutout win. They only scored 3 runs, and the game never really felt in doubt because that's how good the pitching has been. And so as long as they stay healthy, I agree with you. The foundation of this team's talent base is better than it was in 2003. it's maybe closer to 2014, maybe not 2015, but it's closer to 2014 than a lot of people realize. I mean, yeah, that had the best bullpen of all time, maybe, but this rotation is so much better than any of those teams. That just they start from a floor that is higher than almost any other Royals team I've seen.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to put it. And I think you mentioned the pitching. Like it's it's kind of pitching in all shapes and sizes, right? It's bullpen, it's starting, it's in-house guys, it's guys that were acquired in free agency, it's guys that were acquired in trades. I mean, it's like every way you could put together a pitching staff, they put it together. And I think that's one of the things, they understand, like that's what makes it not a fluke. Like you just don't hit on all those things. They know what good pitching looks like. They know how to make good pitching better. They know how to keep good pitching. I don't want to say healthy because nobody keeps it healthy. Like they're on a roll, knock on some wood right now, but they seem to understand modern pitching, and they understand how to prepare their pitchers to go out and have success against the opposition. And I think, I love this game with Cole Reagans being a heavy favorite. He was for the betting public, like minus 250, meaning he had to bet $250 to win 125 to win 10. So they were heavy favorites. That's a big number in baseball. You can get bigger, but that's a big number, right? Usually everything is less than minus 200. It's more in the minus 140, 130, bet 14 to win $10 type of range. And so to go out and get this one, I thought it was important to win with your ace on the mound, even though he was coming back from having missed. One, to have him be dominant again, right? Like didn't go deep, but was dominant in what he did in Cole Reagans. But then you get this one, and now because 4-game series are weird, right? Like you can overmatch somebody and crush them run differential wise and still go 2-2. But if you get this first one, now you can look at it as you just got to get 2 out of 3. And you actually win a 4-game series, which, like I said, most of the times in fairly competitive environments, even in not so competitive environments, go 2-2. So now you got a chance to go 3-1 on the White Sox. So yeah, I a lot of reason to be very excited and optimistic about this team right now.
Well, I want to build on that point, because the difference between this year and last year, I mean, the pitching might be better because the bullpen is so much better. I mean,
yeah,
like especially the first half of last year, the bullpen was not good. It was, they were very much kind of building from scratch every single night and just trying to piece together 3 innings or really 2 innings a lot of times, because it was Lugo and Reagans were going 7, and they were just trying to find 2 innings to get through the games. And they started to straighten it out late in the year. But this year, it's not just, they have Lucas Erceg to start the year, and Hunter Harvey was healthy to start the year. And they signed Carlos Estevez, and that's all worked out. Yet they had some issues with the back guys in the pen. Angel Serpa hasn't been great. Obviously, Sam Long was terrible and went on the IL. Chris Stratton, is hanging on to his bullpen spot by a thread. But here's maybe my favorite stat of the season. All right, the Royals have used 5 pitchers this season who were not on their opening day roster. Okay, those 5: Steven Cruz, who threw another shutout inning today; Noah Cameron, Evan Sisk, Jonathan Bolin, and Taylor Clark. Okay, so these are guys who've been brought up in the middle of the season. These are, supposed to be the replacement level pitchers, right? They're reinforcements. They've thrown 21 2/3 innings. Do you know what their ERA is?
Wow. No.
Do you know what their ERA is, Soren? Look at me.
I don't know. No. 0.
They've given up no runs. All right. Steven Cruz gave up a hit today. That was the 7th hit in 21 2/3 innings that those 5 guys have thrown. Obviously, Noah Cameron gave up just the 1 in 6 1/3. But Steven Cruz has thrown 9 shutout innings, allowed 3 hits. Evan Sisk has gone 2 1/3, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, okay, but 5 strikeouts. He's back in the minors. Jonathan Bolin came up, retired all 6 batters he faced, went back to the minors. They brought Taylor Clark, who pitched for the Royals a couple of years ago. It was probably as much a matter of him just being available. It was legal to bring him up, because I think Sisk was still, once you get sent down, you have to stay down for like 10 days at least. So he wasn't available. They brought up Taylor Clark. He's thrown 2 scoreless innings. So it's like, they're not necessarily throwing high leverage innings, although Steven Cruz definitely is. He's moved into that role. But like, are you bleeping me? Like, the Kansas City Royals have so much pitching that they can bring up guys from the minors and have them be like the envy of like 90% of the bullpens in the game right now. Like that's absurd. Yeah. Even the 2024 Royals are looking at that with envy. So you talk about like they've learned how to develop pitching. Like in some ways, this season may be more impressive because, okay, you might say, well, we don't know how to develop pitching. Maybe we got lucky with Cole Reagans. Maybe we just signed the right guy, Steve, that Seth Lugo was just ready to break out. We happened to sign him. But when, quadruple A pitcher after quadruple A pitcher comes up and is pitching this well, you feel like this season it's really come together as proof that the Royals have figured out something on the pitching side. Maybe they're not the Dodgers or the Rays. Maybe they're not, one of the 2 or 3 best organizations in baseball, but they definitely, in the top 10 and probably higher than that.
Yeah, they're moving in that direction. And then you throw on the offense. Let's talk about what happened in Baltimore. What do you take away from a 7-homer game? Is the offense all fixed?
What I think from it is that
we'll get into the individuals here in a minute, but it's what do you take of the group and what they were able to do in Baltimore?
Well, I think from it that baseball is a funny game, man. Like that's why we love this game, because the Royals, it's not just this hit 7 home runs on Sunday. They hit 3 on Saturday. Soren, they didn't hit 2 homers in a game in the entire month of April.
Right.
I mean, they did. That's offensive to me as a fan of the sport. Like, you don't hit 2 homers, 2 in a whole month. They had 15 home runs going into Saturday, not just last, but like I think the Blue Jays were next to last at 23. And in 2 days, they passed the Blue Jays. They no longer have the fewest home runs in baseball. They hit 10 homers in 2 days after hitting 15 in 33 games. What I take from it is I'm glad that the Orioles moved the wall back. Wall back to where it was. They moved the wall in left field, because that wall, the stadium was known as Baltimore for a long time because left field was the hardest. Left field in Baltimore was the hardest place in baseball to hit a home run until recently. And they hit 7 homers, 5 of them to left field, all 5 right-handed hitters. Bobby Witt was probably out no matter what. Jonathan Indias was definitely not out. It barely cleared the new wall. The other 3, I have a feeling they would have been like off the wall in the old park. It would have been, they were borderline. So like it does not happen in Baltimore a year ago. But a lot of it, a lot of it is just, no team is that bad when in the power department. There was some regression to the mean that was coming. But from what I take from it, the main takeaway I take from it is that Maikel Garcia is really coming into his own. And it's that, to me, is the single most exciting development of the season, in the sense of something we weren't sure was going to happen and maybe we're skeptical would happen. That is happening in a positive way. Maikel Garcia is, frankly, he's one of the 5 best players on the team right now. I don't think there's any question. The combination of his position, his defense, and his hitting ability now, and his age. Like, after Bobby Witt, I'm not sure there's another building block on this team better than Maikel Garcia right now.
What about Drew Waters? Landon says Waters' performance in replacing Melendez has been so vital. I do agree. It's taken out the obvious. Waters got a little ways to go, but he drove in a third run tonight, drew a walk. I do think that's an important point. Like, you've taken away what is, and it's not just the zero that was going on. It was the, like, football coaches have this thing that they call them energy vampires, right? Like, what you don't want is a guy who's an energy vampire, the guy who comes in and whines and complains and just sucks all the energy out of the room. I don't know what MJ Melendez is in the clubhouse, but I know his struggles had to have been energy vampirish. Right? Like, oh, here he comes. Oh, God, here we go. And not that they're like, I can't stand this guy. Like, I'm sure, like, oh, come on, MJ. We're rooting for you, buddy. Oh, man, this is so hard for MJ. God, I just feel for him. Like, that just sucks the life out of you. It's like it's like, it's not that anybody, you can think of it like just beer league softball. The guy, they're like, well, there goes this rally. It just sucks the life out of you. And I do think that, Drew Waters has done a fine job, right? Better than I think the Royals probably thought he was going to do. Or he'd have been called up before, or he'd have won the job out of spring training, because MJ Melendez did nothing in spring training to warrant getting the job. So they clearly didn't think this was going to happen to him. But I do think that there is a little bit of a mental part. Like, you've got Michael Massey struggling. You've got Vinnie Pasquantino struggling. Okay, but you feel like those guys have shown enough, especially with Vinny. I always felt like Vinny's going to get it figured out. And I know it's not all fixed yet with Vinny. Looks pretty good, like we're going in the right direction. But the one with Melendez, like it was, there's a cancer victim and he's going to die. And we're all just going to sit here and watch him die. Like until the death of that career occurs, we can do nothing but sit here and, if you're a prayerful person, say your prayers. If you're let's work at it, let's find a cure. All the hitting coaches are trying to find the cure. Let's get in there. You're a doctor. I don't know. I mean, you ever saved anybody from a blemish? I don't know how it works in dermatology, Randy, but that's like, it sucks the life out of the team. And I'm not trying to be cruel to MJ Melendez. I'm just saying like it was painful. And we'd sit in here and, Bruce is here, Terry, Matt, Kottman, all kinds of guys that are here regularly. And just like boom, 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 boom. He sucks. It sucks. There's got to be someone else. How about this guy? How about that guy? Like it took away from the ability to get things going. And I think just, anybody would have improved. And then on top of it, Drew Waters is doing a solid job.
So first of all, I do treat skin cancer. So like, it's not all blemishes. So I just want to put that out there. We do save lives occasionally.
Okay.
But
I got a right here on my eyebrow. Can you see that, Randy, real quick?
I'll
take a picture.
We're accepting all insurance plans right now, sir. You're welcome to drop by.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
When you're talking about the energy vampirish aspect of MJ Melendez, it reminded me. It's got to be 20, 25 years ago. I watched. It was like a Bon Jovi documentary of the band, right? Of John Bon Jovi and some of the other guys. And I guess I just remember at one point they ended up having to. I think they replaced their drummer. There was some member of the band that was basically kind of like asked to leave, and they were talking about how whether it was because he was on mind altering substances or just getting old or whatever, but his performance had just gone to crap. Like he was just missing beats, just not playing to the caliber of a world famous band. And I remember it was Bon Jovi or who's the other main guy in the group?
Richie Sambora.
Richie Sambora. Yeah, thank you. I think it was Richie Sambora, who the quote has stayed with me to this day. And he's like, the first couple of times that you heard him like, screw up the music, you felt sorry for him. After the first couple of times, you started feeling sorry for yourself. And I feel like that's what it is with MJ. It's like, I'm sure in that clubhouse, they felt sorry for his struggles, right? They felt sorry for him that he couldn't figure it out. But at a certain point, when the guy's 4 for 47 or whatever it was, he was not, 4 for 47 when he got sent down. It's like at some point, I'm sure the players in that clubhouse, when he's coming up in a key moment and ending yet another, potential rally, he started to feel sorry for themselves that the results, he was hurting everybody. And so, I think what's frustrating about the Royals sometimes they let a guy get to the point where he's no longer feeling sorry for himself, but that players are starting to feel sorry for themselves having to play with him before they make the move and send him down. But they did send him down. And I mean, Drew Waters has proven the wisdom of why they should have probably sent him down a lot sooner. He hasn't been a star. He hasn't been elite. He's been very average, but average feels like a godsend right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a hit in the ninth inning, or sorry, the 8th inning today to drive in an insurance run. He's hitting 284, 329, 432. Those aren't star numbers, but those are well above average.
Yeah.
And from what
it's at least keep the line moving numbers.
Absolutely. And from what MJ was doing to what he's doing, I mean, the biggest difference between 8 and 14 and 12 and 2 is the difference between MJ Melendez and Drew Waters in the lineup. Because they were desperately one. They were like 3 bats short, but now they're not. Now they're 2 bats short. And that's made a ton of difference. So, Maikel is the better player, but having Drew Waters in the lineup now, it's exactly what you and I were talking about. It's like, we don't think he's going to be great, but will he improve this team? Yes. And he has. And the proof's in the pudding. They're 20 and 16 now.
Yeah. It's been impressive. Let's talk about the individuals. We will do that right after you hear from our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance. David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Your guy, Rany, Maikel Garcia, is getting it done. By the way, coming into tonight, in 2024, he was slashing 232, 280, 377 through 34 games. Before tonight, he was slashing 319, 379, 496. Right? That is a jump from 657 in OPS to 875 in OPS. Right? He, walks and strikeouts, I think, kind of pop. Last year, he had 10 walks and he had 29 Ks. This year, he has 12 walks and 19 Ks. Speaks to his ability to figure out which pitch to swing at, right? Maikel Garcia, we talk about what's better, is one of the guys. And I guess the question is this the real Maikel Garcia here moving forward?
It might be.
Are you going to go 800 plus? I'll settle in at like 750 maybe, and I might be thrilled. Right. If I gave you 750 over under, all right, I said you could lock it in. You can bank a 750 OPS for the season. Ooh. Would you take it, or would you roll the dice that he's better than that?
750.
Right now he's 875.
Yeah, I think he was up like 10 more points today. He walked twice and singled. Man, you know what? I believe in him. I actually would take. The gamble that I'd roll the dice. I think he will have an OPS at the end of the year, in part because he's banked a month of higher, but I think he's going to end up with an OPS north of 750 this year. And I'll tell you why. I mean, the reason why he was kind of my guy going into the year, I was not nearly as making the table as I should have been, frankly, but I thought that he would reestablish himself as an everyday guy. I remember there was a lot of question as to whether he would even be like a starter this year. But his batted ball metrics, like his approach at the plate last year, was elite, even though the results were terrible. Like he was first percentile in terms of batting run value, but his chase percentage last year, 92nd percentile. So he almost never swung at bad pitches, which as a Royals is doubly impressive. His whiff percentage, 92nd percentile. So when he did swing, he almost never missed, right? His contact was good when he swung, and he didn't swing if it wasn't a good pitch. And his squared up percentage, so the percentage of the time he is hitting the ball like hard, is 98th percentile, right? Squared up, not exactly. It's more about just kind of like line drive swing. But his barrel percentage was 10th percentile, and the reason we've talked about this before is he doesn't hit the ball in the air. It was all ground balls, right? And so in 2023 we talked about this because he had good metrics in 2023. I don't think they were quite that good, but even as a rookie, a lot of his numbers were really good, except his barrel percentage, because his average launch angle was only 6 degrees. So on average, he was barely hitting the ball, above eye level, which meant his ground ball percentage was very high. And after being 6.1 as a rookie, last year was 6.4. He got off to a hot start, you might recall. He had a couple of home runs, I think, in April, but then he was just ice cold the rest of the way. And I mean, if the one reason maybe to be concerned is simply that he did get off to a good start last year, but his underlying metrics were never this good. And this year, his average launch angle has gone from, like I said, 6.1 as a rookie, 6.4. This year, it's 10. That's a substantial difference. It's not power hitter territory, but you don't want him to be a power hitter. You'd want him to be a line drive hitter with power. The guy who can hit the ball over the wall. His barrel percentage has gone from about 3% to about 4.5%. And lo and behold, he's hit some home runs. He's hitting some bombs. He's slugging almost 500. And all of his other metrics are still really, really good. Like, again, 98th percentile squared up, 90th in chase, 95th in whiff. Like, he's top 10% in like the three categories you care about most. He's also swinging the bat harder. His average bat speed has gone from 70.8 to 72. So he's swinging harder. He's hitting the ball in the air more, and he's pulling the ball more. He was, up until this year, he was very much an all fields hitter. Let me get the exact numbers here for you. So the percentage of the time he hit the ball to the opposite field is a rookie 27.5%. Last year, 28.5%. This year, 21.8%. His pull percentage, then, of course, is the opposite. 33% as a rookie, 33% last year, 40% this year. Pull the ball in the air. If you want to distill modern hitting coach philosophy down to 5 words, hit the ball in the air, I guess it's 6 words, is as good a distillation as anything. You hear the term sometimes, players will talk about elevate and celebrate. Hit the ball in the air, you're going to pull it. It's going to go over the fence, or at least over the left fielder's gloves. That's what he's doing. He's swinging harder. He's hitting the ball the pull side more, and he's hitting it in the air more. Those are all things you want to see, and that is why I'll bet on a guy who already shows the bat control skills. He had the bat control skills coming into the season. He's proven that 2 years in a row. And I was taking a bet that he could translate that bat control into doing good things when he made contact. And he's doing that now. And it's really, I expect some regression, but this is probably who he is now. He's what, 24 years old now? 25, I think. He's just turned 25 in March. So this is, he's at an age where this absolutely can be a new talent level, new ability level for him. And even if he regresses, I'm looking at something like, a 280, 340, 450 for the year, something like that. So, somewhere close to 800, maybe not 800 OPS, but I would say he's going to be close to that. And with his defense at third base, that's a 3 to 4 win player easily.
Do you know how many at-bats he has?
Right now, this year?
Exactly 1,500 in his career.
Oh, in his career.
No, that's not true. I just love that because everyone gets hung up on the old Dayton Moore 1,500 at-bats. But he said you got to really let a guy have 1,500 at-bats before he is at 1,180 at-bats coming into tonight, just under 1,300 plate appearances. So it does speak to, can take a little time. I know people like to, bring that up and not in a positive fashion towards Dayton Moore. But there's some validity to it. Right. It was too often used as an excuse to keep running out players that weren't good enough. Right. We'd hear that as to why MJ Melendez was still running out there. And that would frustrate people. But this is a great case. Maikel Garcia, did okay. Right. And was a serviceable player when he had in his defense and his base running. Mm-hmm. But now it looks like if the hitting is going to come around, you got a very good player. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's the kind of player. He's exactly the kind of player that I believe the 1,500 plate appearance, or third full season or whatever, really matters. Because the frustration I would have is when you'd have a guy who came up who was an elite super prospect in the minor leagues, and already have an OPS over 1,000. You think about a Mike Moustakas, we were so frustrated. Mike eventually got there, but what was frustrating was, or even Eric Hosmer, these guys were supposed to be finished products when they got to the major leagues. Maikel Garcia wasn't. He got to the major leagues partly out of desperation, I think a little bit, partly though because his glove was ahead of his bat. And he was a guy who was very intriguing in the minor leagues because he was young for his levels, had unusual plate discipline for a Royals prospect, particularly one from Latin America, and displayed a wide range of skills. Like, for instance, his last full season in the minor leagues, he had 285. He also made 11 homers and 34 doubles. He had 58 walks. He stole 39 bases. He filled up a stat sheet. And he did that in AA and AAA at age 22. He was not, he was not incredibly young, but he was young and he showed all these different skills. And I love those types of players because there are so many ways they can develop. They might develop power, or they might just be, develop more contact ability and become a high average guy, or they might just be a really good glove guy and still contribute in that way. Like there are so many ways this guy can become valuable. And so the fact that he held his own at the beginning without his bat having really fully developed and was still valuable because of his speed, because of his defense, I'm like, if this guy develops his bat at all, he will be a really valuable player. And he's young enough that can happen. And here he is.
Vinnie Massey, where's your optimism that things are starting to come together for them? We're seeing real tangible signs from Vinnie. Even before the home runs the last couple of times, the batted ball data was looking pretty good. Where are we at on Massey, though?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Vinny's coming around. I think his swing is a little messed up. I think
Nice
he was
defensive play too on a double play tonight.
Gorgeous defensive play. I mean, it makes up. He was 0 for 4, I believe, today. But I'm sure.
Yeah, by the way, I want to point out that's like, it was a soft little play. I like at that angle, playing first base. If you've ever tried to field one of those, that is absolute no man's land on where to get your head and everything. That was a much harder catch than it looked. And then to come up and be ready, start to think, okay, I can beat him back. Nope, I'm not going to make it. And then to get the throw and to put it on Daniel Lynch. And it's a nice defensive play from Vinny as well.
Oh, yeah. No, the only thing I disagree is I don't think it looked like an easy play. I mean, it was, like you said, it was an absolute perfect bloop angle, right? Like there was the kind of ball.
Well, that's why the base runner was going
off the bat, exactly. And he just kind of over the shoulder, like the angle, very difficult.
I will disagree with your disagreement. I don't think most people thought it was. It's harder. I mean, just that is such a tough play for a first baseman.
Right. And then to have the wherewithal to make the throw to first and turn it into an inning-ending double play. I mean, that was the White Sox last rally. So again, his defense is solid out there. It's just so funny thinking back to how he came up and everyone just thought he was like going to be the brute force DH. Nick Prado was like the defensive wizard, and Vinny's turned himself into a pretty decent first baseman. But I think the bat, I'm just worried that if his swing is always this high maintenance, that are we always going to be worried that he's going to go into a slump if things aren't working perfectly? But we know that when things are working, he's an absolute menace at the plate, and he's showing signs of coming around to that again.
But is his bat high maintenance, or does it just get talked about too much? Right? Like, because I'm going to figure out something here. He's on pace for 28 home runs. Right? He's high maintenance. It's a problem. He's not hot. He's on pace for 28 home. Now, he's hit 2 in the last 3 days. Right? I'll factor that in. So that's part of the equation as well, that it is trending upwards much more so now over the last couple of days. But I'm still like there's all this consternation about it, and he seems to wring his hands a lot about it and put so much pressure on himself. And I think he could lay off. I do think he needs to give himself a break, and just you're not going to be locked in for 162 games. So when you're not going good, just make sure you do the little things and, draw your walks. And, that's the one thing I'd like to see. I'd feel better if he were back to drawing the kind of walks he drew in the minor leagues, is because that seems to have evaporated. But if he's going to be a 25 plus home run guy, you're fine.
Yeah, and that's kind of what when I say high maintenance, it's more like I feel like he's trying too hard, right? He has the kind of swing of somebody who's trying to be perfect, and I think dialing it back to 90%, he has the ability at 90. Not only do I think he can be a really good hitter trying 90%, I think he's a better hitter. I mean, he'll acknowledge it because last year he was so good with runners in scoring position. It was in part because he wasn't trying 100%. He was trying to just put the ball in play, hit the ball the other way. And when he's doing that, he's really, really good at it. So I worry that, he's on pace to hit 28 home runs. He's on pace to hit 191 batting average too. Maybe that is, part of the problem. I don't care if he hits 15 home runs if he's hitting 280 or 300. I'd rather that version of him. And I think he'll get there. I think, like you said, I think things are coming around now. The biggest thing, honestly, the biggest positive takeaway is that he stayed healthy. I mean, he's missed one game this year. He's second on the team in plate appearances behind just Bobby. And Bobby, along with everything else, is, thank God, indestructible to this point in his career. So he's, the longer he's out there without getting injured, the worry you have is that chronic injuries take a toll on his ability. So the fact that he has stayed healthy this year, I'm confident as long as he stays healthy, he'll work through this, that he's not, he hasn't lost his hitting talent suddenly.
Where is your concern level on Massey, though, real quick? Because I know we got another number of things we want to get to here.
I'm not sure. The home run yesterday was kind of classic Massey. The thing that made Massey always kind of a surprisingly productive player the last couple of years, because his batted ball numbers are not elite at all. They never have been, though. But that his ability to hit the ball in the air, like I just said, I feel like nobody on the team is better hitting a ball like 380 feet, not 420 feet, but he'll pull a ball 380 feet into the fifth row down the right field line. Like, not a cheap home run necessarily, but he doesn't hit boomers. His swing is very well designed when he makes contact to put a ball just past the right field wall. He's not hitting shots to dead center. He's not hitting balls, home run balls or even doubles down, the opposite way. And my concern with him, if anything, is that maybe he's almost pulling the ball too much. His pull rate has been consistently 50% or more throughout his career. And he's also, much more of a fly ball hitter. And this year he's hitting more fly balls than he has in the past. And that may be part of the problem for Massey. His launch angle, let me get the exact numbers here for you. Yeah, his launch angles. So to give you an idea, year by year, 16, 20, 17, and then this year, 22. Like, that's hitting the ball in the air way too much. Right, Maikel Garcia was at the opposite. You probably an ideal launch angle on average would probably be in the 15 to 17 degree range. So that's line drive territory. And Michael Massey's not doing that. He's hitting way too many fly balls. So I'm concerned. I think the ability is there. Like, he has to hit the fly ball at the perfect trajectory, or it's a routine can of corn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think at this point, like, if they had another option in the outfield, I think we would be having a much more difficult conversation about moving Jonathan India back to second base and sending Michael down or giving him, some time on the bench. I just think right now they barely have two options in the outfield, let alone three. So I just don't see I don't feel like that's a legitimate option at this point. I think they have to ride with Michael for at least a few more weeks.
We still want to talk about Noah Cameron. We want to talk about Bobby Witt Jr. We want to talk about Jac Caglianone. That's coming up next after you hear from our friends at Whataburger. Your favorites are back, Kansas City, now for a limited time at all your KC Whataburger locations. Get the mushroom and Swiss burger, 2 large beef patties, Swiss American cheese, fire-roasted mushrooms, and creamy au jus. How about the sweet and spicy bacon burger? 2 large beef patties, American and Monterey Jack cheese, bacon, grilled onions, and topped with sweet and spicy pepper sauce. Or grab the patty melt. Even the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're all perfect with the Whataburger Banana Pudding Shake. Remember, Whataburger's open 24 hours a day with breakfast served from 11 p to 11 a. And don't forget, you can get all your Whataburger favorites and more by downloading the Whataburger app with the QR code. Whataburger, proud sponsor of the Kaufman Corner podcast. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. All right, Rany, let's talk about Bobby Witt Jr. Can he be even better this year than he was in finishing second in the MVP? I know this is a thought you've had of late.
He could be. I don't think he will. I thought it was worth putting on the list, if only because by Baseball Reference, he's actually on pace for more wins above replacement this year than last year. Like, he was at 9.4 last year. I think he's on pace for like 9.7 this year. Now, Fangraphs has it the other way. He ended up with like 10.5 last year, and he's on pace for around 9 this year. And I think Fangraphs has it right because for whatever reason, Baseball References, the defensive metrics they've used have never liked Bobby Witt's defense. And even last year, they just have him slightly above average. This year, they have him, I think, finally reflecting his excellence. So I think that's kind of throwing off these numbers. But the reality is, even if he comes down to like only a 9 or 8.5 win season, that's kind of incredible. I mean,
yes,
the pop isn't there in terms of home runs
yet.
He's leading the league in doubles, and he had another one today, right? So he's got 14 doubles now. So he leads the American League. his plate discipline, I mean, his OBP is exactly where it was last year. His OBP last year was 389. His OBP this year right now is 389. He was, a double single and a walk today. The only thing is, like I said, his launch angle is actually down a little bit. He was at 15 last year, which is ideal. He's around 11.5 this year. I'm not worried. The dude hits lasers, whatever. It's fine. The speed, he's lost like not a half a step. He's lost like a fifth of a step in terms of his speed. His sprint speed's down like 0.3, which that's going to happen year by year for everybody. At this rate, he'll be an average runner when he's like 37, which is fine. And he's playing every day, and the defense shows no signs of any kind of regression there. Like we've already had the discussion of him being having the best Royal season of all time. It was him or George Brett in 1980, but like this 2-year stretch, I guess George Brett's 79 and 80. You could argue Brett's second best year was 79. So 79 and 80 were obviously the best 2-year stretch by any Royals player in history. But Bobby has a chance to surpass that, and he's still 24 for another month.
Well, and we know the power is going to come around, and whatever the home run number will be. Right now, he's on pace for 63 doubles and 50 stolen bases. And he hasn't got high yet.
And he's maybe the best defensive shortstop in the league. Like it's absurd. It really, look, he was the second pick in the draft. He was like, the top 3 prospect in the sport, and we were all underrating him. And it's just so much fun that this happened here in Kansas City. It's so much fun. He's under, team control through 2030. Like, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
I will say, as Cotman says, Aaron Judge is hitting 400. I do want to put this out there because I don't want people to lose their minds at the end of the year. It is quite possible that Bobby Witt, like last year, not only will not win the MVP, will not get a first place MVP vote. Okay. And it's through no fault of his own. It's through no fault of the voters. It just so happens that Aaron Judge has suddenly turned into like Barry Bonds in his early 30s, doing things that the best way I can put it, Barry Bonds broke the sport of baseball. And you could argue as to why he did that, but Aaron Judge has broken the sport. He's doing things you should not be able to do at the plate. And he's doing it because he's a very large man who has perfected a swing and is just, look, tip your cap to him. It's okay. But like, just as a Royals fan, don't lose your mind. Bobby Witt right now has not been the best player in the American League, and that's okay. Yeah. He's still one of the best players who's ever put on a uniform. He just happens to be playing at the time where you're seeing one of the 10 greatest peaks in baseball history right now with Aaron Judge.
And then Shohei Ohtani over on the other side, right? Like, I mean, that's, a couple of guys that suck up a lot of the conversation, and rightfully so. They're amazing, brilliant players.
You know what? Let them, because none of that changed the fact, like, all the hype that went to Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani last year didn't take one win away from the Royals. Like, it didn't keep the Royals out of the playoffs. Like,
right. Bobby
Witt, by force of will and talent, got the Royals to the playoffs by a single game last year. It's quite possible he'll do the same thing this year. And that's amazing. And frankly, that's enough. I don't care. The awards are nice, but if he can pull this team to the playoffs again, just, you can just retire his number while he's still playing. I don't care.
Yeah, that's where it's headed for sure. Noah Cameron, how delightful to see the Royals be able to lock and load a guy from the minors, then turn right around, send him right back down because they don't need him, but know that there's a guy that's there. Now, the walks are high. That's got to come down. And you can look at the walk rate in the minors is a little high and says that will be a problem. So I'm not here to tell you that you could just plug Noah Cameron in and he's going to, if you had to, if somebody went down, he could start every game the rest of the way. There wouldn't be any problems. The walk rate is of note. All right. I want to be clear of that, even walking 5 the other day. But to have a homegrown guy, that you can lock in, that you're being groomed to be a starting pitcher and do that was, I think that's another reason why the foundation is strong, right? They know what they're doing with the pitching.
Yeah, no, as far as I'm concerned, the Royals have 6 major league caliber pitchers. Like, I don't know for sure that he could last the whole season in the rotation if they needed him to, but I would not at all be surprised. I think he absolutely deserves the opportunity. In terms of, the stuff, like, he's right in that zone as a lefty. Like, if he threw 2 miles an hour harder, I'd say this guy projects as a potential top of the rotation, like number 2 starter. If he threw, because his average fastball velo was 92.1. So if he threw 94, you're talking about number 2 starter. If he threw 90, you're talking about fringe major leaguer at best, right? It has to survive by, trickery and just being lucky. 92 is in that range where you can be a good number 4, maybe even number 3 starter of everything. If all your secondary stuff is good and your command is good, et cetera, but you have to be, you have to be elite in the other aspects. And he might be. I mean, he has multiple pitches. One of my favorite things from the game was he came into the game with like a reputation for not even barely even having a slider. Like he threw his slider like 4% in AAA or something like that. It ended up being his second most used pitch in his start. He threw it 25% of the time. Is this just a case of they've just taught him another pitch and he's just mastering it now? And
or is it that he hasn't mastered and they're like, win with your other pitches? That's what we need to see you do, is win with your secondary stuff. And now it's like, okay, unleash the full arsenal, and this is how he will pitch in the big leagues.
Right. But I've heard for years he had a good curveball changeup. I didn't hear much about the slider. So to see the slider and it seemed like a good pitch for him, that was quite delightful to me. The walks were high. I know David Lesky talked about this on was it Thursday show, Thursday morning. But the issue was, he was just missing. I watched him like a couple of walks. There was a 3-2 pitch where it was a check swing and they probably could have called it a strike 3 and they didn't. But what it was he wasn't missing by much. It's just that they were taking the Rays were very disciplined at the plate and just not swinging. Their chase rate was very low. The question I have is that just a matter of he has to realize major league hitters are just not going to swing at borderline pitches and he has to miss by less? Or is there something about his stuff that made it easier for them to lay off those pitches right outside the zone? I'm very curious to see what happens when he takes the ball for Omaha probably tomorrow in his first start back at the minors, now that he sees, how to be successful and also what he needs to work on. But I have no concern if somebody in the rotation has to miss a month and they have to bring him up. They can absolutely win with him. Obviously, they just did. You hope you don't have to use him for the full season, but they have a sixth guy that's better than their third best guy was just a couple of years ago. So it's, again, another feather in the cap for the organization.
Caglianone hit a ball 121 miles an hour, had a single. Caglianone got a couple of hits off Clayton Kershaw, even going the other way. Now he's hit one on a roof, right? Like, the numbers, he's been red hot here of late. A move to AAA would seem to be not far off.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to play the game with making him rookie eligible next year and making sure that they can get the draft pick compensation if he finishes in the awards. So I don't know that we're going to see him as fast as people want, or what do you think? Do you think they're looking at it going, let's get a quick stop in AAA. If he's raking there, then he's got a chance to win the award this year and we can bag that off being rookie of the year.
Right. That's a really interesting point. I mean, the incentives now, overall, like the way that they've changed the rules, I think it's improved the incentives for teams to bring up players faster in the sense of, if a guy's ready, close to being ready on opening day, you might as well just put him on your opening day roster because you might get a draft pick. And if you don't, you bring him up a month later, you might end up having him get a winning rookie of the year and you lose the full year of eligibility and don't get the draft pick, which is what happened to the Pirates last year with Paul Skeens. It happened to the Orioles, I believe, with Adley Rutschman. But you make a good point, which is when a guy's ready, like mid-season, do you want to hold off? Because if he can get 130 at bats and no more, which means you could still bring him up in late August, or at least, certainly by September 1st, have him on the roster. He can play in the playoffs, but then he's already ready to go the next season.
Well, and I think the question is also, as I read the rules, it's not even just that. Like, you can go ahead and burn that rookie of the year if you think, listen, our guy's likely to have some struggles, and we think his first full year in the big leagues, we're looking at 215, 275, 400, 470, whatever. He's going to slug, but he's going to strike out a lot, and we don't think he's going to win rookie of the year with that. But we do think that after a year or two, then all the numbers will be there and he might finish top 3 of the MVP. Well, then you just got to keep him under, I think it's 60 games. So if you keep him under 60 games, then he is still eligible for the MVP ruling, is my understanding. As I was digging through it.
I need to go. It is a confusing set of rules.
Yes.
I will need
and just the rookie of the year has its different little nuances to it.
Well, the concern you have is that you bring him up let's say you bring him up in mid-season and he goes off to the point where even and nobody else in the league, no other rookie in the league, or only one other rookie in the league is like having a really good rookie season. Because if you finish top 2 in the rookie of the year voting, I believe the rule is that you get a full year of eligibility, or a full year of service time, I should say, even though you didn't come to the major leagues and get the full year. So again, that's how Paul Skeens has one full year of eligibility. He will be a free agent 1 year sooner. So the Pirates kind of got screwed on both ends because they didn't have him for the full season, and yet they will still lose him a year early, as if they had started the season on the opening day roster. But if he had, they would have also gotten a draft pick this year. So they don't get the draft pick and they lose the year. So it's tricky. And my feeling though is, if you are in a pennant race, if you have a chance to make the playoffs, then that should just take priority, because it's too confusing anyway, right? Like, I don't think the Royals are going to call him up right now, but I will say this as somebody who, my big and bold daring prediction this year was that he would be in the lineup when they went to the playoffs this year. I'm not saying that it's definitely going to happen, but I don't know that you could have crafted a better start to the season for Jac Caglianone, not just in terms of his performance, but in terms of like assuaging doubts that he might not be ready. Because as much as we talk about the power numbers, the exit velo, the home run off the roof, whatever, he has the most surprising thing to me this season about him is he has 15 walks in 124 plate appearances. I mean, we were told by people who know him, who love him, prospect people, that to think of him as like a left-handed Salvador Perez in terms of like, look, Salvi hit 48 home runs in a season, like elite power. But this was a guy who just can make great contact, but was not going to be an on-base guy, and frankly was going to be a bit of a free swinger. He has shown he's shown better plate discipline in Double-A than he did in college. Let's put it that way. The strikeout rate, he struck out twice yesterday, although he also had a single and a homer, but his strikeout rate is right there at 23%. It's holding steady. 23% is perfectly fine. If he keeps it under 25, I'm very happy. But the walk rate of 12% is shocking. I mean, his season numbers now, 314 batting, 395 OBP, 540 slug. And since he had that 0 for 16 slump in his last 14 games, hitting 431 with 9 walks and 13 strikeouts. And in that time, he started playing right field part-time. Like, I still don't understand why they're going back and forth, but he played right field on Saturday and hit his first home run as a right fielder. He started 4 games in right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of his last 9 starts in the field, 4 in right, 5 at first base. And it has not hurt his bat. Say what you want about he is continuing to hit. At this point, I feel like, I think he's ready for Omaha. Like, you don't have to make a decision as to when to bring him to the major leagues, or, how it's going to affect service time, draft pick. You don't have to make that decision yet. But I think he's proven he's ready to be one step away, so that if he performs there, then you can have a very difficult conversation and decide what you want to do. But I just think if he continues to play like this in Omaha for the next 6 weeks, it is going to be very difficult to justify not bring him to the major. It's going to be very difficult to say, not just to your fans, not to the front office, to the players in the Royals clubhouse who know all about Jac Caglianone. They see the same highlights that we do, right? They've seen the same exit velos that we do. They played with him in spring training. It's going to be hard to justify to them that Jac Caglianone is not one of the 9 best hitters in the organization wherever he's playing. So I think at this point, his ETA is going to be somewhere in midsummer. I don't think it's going to be late summer. I think he's going to be here by the All-Star break if he performs in Omaha. But I think he's going to be in Omaha probably in the next 2 weeks. I would be surprised if he's not there.
Let's finish with another young player, Asbel Gonzalez, a guy that probably a lot of people haven't heard of because he's not high on the prospect list, but he's going to be a lot higher pretty soon.
He is. And everyone knows about Caglianone. I'm not saying Asbel's not the number 2 prospect in the organization quite yet, but he's certainly the most interesting player in the organization right now besides Caglianone. Because, yes, as a 19-year-old, mind you, he's hitting 404 in A-ball with a .513 on-base percentage.
14 walks, 10 strikeouts.
Yeah. And 7 hit by pitches. That's goosing his OBP, which may be a fluke, but I think for his entire professional career now, he is up. It's not just like a one season fluke. Like I don't know if he's
got some Ricky
close to the plate. Yeah, he's been hit 23 times in 113 games in his pro career. Now, major league pitchers will, do not their command is much better. So he's not going to be hit at that kind of a rate. But it's just nice to see that he understands his job is to get on base. And if that means, hey, taking one off the sleeve, like you can't steal first base, but he can definitely steal the other ones. But that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You may have heard in the month of April, in part because he got on base a hell of a lot, but also because he is very, very fast on the base paths. He stole 30 bases. I want to repeat that because it's one of those numbers you really have to stop and think about. He stole 30 bases in a month. That might seem unusual. It is. The Royals with Major League Baseball's assistants went back and tried to find any player, professional player, major league, minor league, who stole 30 bases before the month of April is out. As far as we can tell, going back to 2005, we don't have minor league data going back into the 19th century or whatever, but no player has ever stolen 30 bases before April was out.
Should be pointed out, he is playing in low A ball and is 28 years old. No, I'm just kidding. He just turned
exactly.
19.
He's 19.
19 and a half. Yeah.
I will say, I thought you were going to say he's playing an A ball. Keep in mind, some of the rules down in the minor leagues in terms of, the size of the base paths, the size of the bases and how many times they can throw over. Like they've played around with the rules a little bit in the minor leagues. I'm not exactly sure what the Carolina League's rules are that might be helping him in that regard. But keep in mind, they change the rules in the major leagues, right? Like it is easier. Major League Baseball has deliberately made stealing bases easier than it used to be. They want to introduce speed as a weapon again. So this guy's going to have advantages that Gerard Dyson in his prime did not have, right? Second base is about 3 inches closer to first base than it used to be because the bases are larger. Doesn't sound like much, but we've seen anybody who's watched instant replay knows 3 inches can be all the difference. And they can't throw over 6 times to hold him at first base. You get 3 strikes and you're out, or 3 strikes and he's on second base. But here's what I'm paying attention to. So the Royals major league, the all-time single season record for the Royals for stolen bases in the season is Willie Wilson with 83 in 1979. I asked the Royals media department if they could find anybody in the minor leagues. I went through Gerard Dyson, Terrence Gore, Tyler Tolbert went 60 for 60, but nobody I could find had stolen 80 bases in a season. But the Royals media department kindly got me an answer. They went through it. They found a couple guys in the 70s who got to around 75 steals. But the only player who's ever stolen more than 83 in a season, the guy by the name of Mike Curry. I don't know if you remember him. He was a draft pick in the late 90s. 1999, he stole 85 bases between low A ball and high A ball. Was traded a year later to the Mets for Endy Chavez, if you remember the Endy Chavez
I remember
experience. Yeah, so Mike Curry was I think drafted out of like South Carolina. It was a college speedster, good on base guy, but never made it to the major leagues and just kind of a quadruple A guy in the end. Stole 85 bases. That's the Royals' professional single season record for stolen bases. Asbel Gonzalez might get there by the All-Star break. Like we are talking about, like when you think about Vince Coleman stealing triple digits in the minor leagues and then the major leagues. Billy Hamilton, I think, might still hold the all-time professional record with something like 150 steals in a season. I mean, that sounds insane, but we're talking about 25 games he's played now. He's up to 31 steals. Somehow he had 3 hits yesterday and didn't get a stolen base. I don't know what happened there. But he hasn't gone more than 2 games in this season without a steal. He's on pace for 170, 180 stolen bases. Like, this is going to be a lot of fun, but what I love about it is he's not just a stolen base guy. Like the steals are fun, but the Royals have always had speedsters. The problem is you can't steal first base, and these guys didn't have good command of the strike zone or just couldn't hit enough to make it matter. A 19-year-old who's hitting 400 and has an above-average walk rate and has game-changing speed. This is going to be fun to watch. It's just, he's a couple years away, but he might be the leadoff hitter that we've been waiting for a very long time.
Yeah. No, I mean, he would be everyone's idea of a leadoff hitter. Getting on base at that clip, but then also adding the speed. Like guys used to put guys who couldn't get on base. Managers used to put guys who couldn't get on base up at the top if they could run because they wanted that stolen bases. Now we'll put, Kevin Youkilis and the Yankees were leading off and the Cubs were leading off first baseman. Oh God, Rizzo.
No, yeah.
Yeah, Rizzo leading off. Forget about it. If you could get on base and steal bases, oh my, it would be ebony and ivory. It would be the world living together, living together in perfect harmony. For baseball, the old school stolen base guy with the new school on base guy. Oh, you just come together and hug. It would just be the best.
I mean, it's funny because Willie Wilson, of course, was maybe one of the fastest players in Major League history, and it was an era where people didn't understand on base percentage. The Royals, least of all, and he never walked, right? So, and it's like, how many bases could Willie Wilson have stolen if he didn't walk like 20 times a season?
Yeah.
Right? He would have been Tim Raines, right? Like
Yeah.
the difference between the reason why Tim Raines is the Hall of Fame and Willie Wilson isn't is because Tim Raines understood to get on base, right? Asbel Gonzalez could be a Tim Raines type, right? Like he has the
It's very
early. Very, very. I'm just saying he understands the strike zone. And he plays in a time where everybody understands the value of getting on base, right? Like the one thing I'll give a pass on for Willie is just I'm sure nobody told him how important it was to take walks. And frankly, 10 years ago, if Asbel Gonzalez was in this organization, I'm not sure they would have told him how important it is. I do think the Royals understand, even if they're not great at teaching it, they're getting there, and they found a guy who has that ability and is running wild in the base path, and it's fun to dream.
And Latino players can watch Juan Soto,
walk
and see what.
Yeah, it's not
contract wise. They understand the old. You can't walk off the island anymore.
Exactly. I think that's long gone. Right. Exactly. Yeah. They have a lot of role models of guys who understand like patience as a weapon, and Juan Soto, of course, has weaponized it and glamorized it. Frankly,
yes.
Right. It's like the shuffle that Juan Soto does. The idea behind it is basically you can't make me you can't trick me into swinging at a pitch I don't want to swing at. There's actually some machismo to the idea of not swinging. You think you can trick me, and no, I know better than you. So I'm very excited to see Asbel Gonzalez develop. My hope is though this year we don't have to wait much longer to see Jac Caglianone develop in front of our eyes. So.
Yeah. We're going to see it pretty soon.
Everything's coming up Royals right now, Soren. It's making me nervous.
It sure is. It sure is.
You said, when do we wait for the other, to stop waiting for the other shoe to drop? I'm still waiting. I'm sorry. It's too many years of muscle memory. I'm still nervous here, but every day that goes by where they continue to be a professionally run organization I feel a little bit better about the future of this organization right now.
For sure. For sure. Listen, you always feel better when it comes to insurance with David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Help support the Kaufman Corner podcast by supporting our great sponsors like David Starnes Allstate Insurance, roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car's in the shop. You can give Dave and his crew a call like I did. Call 816-781-7331. Visit them online or at one of their locations in-house. Call 816-781-7331. Of course, our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. I watched them doing a project right outside right across the way in my neighborhood. Gann Asphalt and Concrete was doing the pool in the neighborhood, the parking lot, free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warranty. Gann Asphalt and Concrete keeps your parking lot safe, lets you focus on your business, avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. GannAsphalt.com. One contractor, all things parking lot. It's Gann Asphalt and Concrete. And, of course, Whataburger is back with some of your great favorites, the mushroom and Swiss burger, the sweet and spicy bacon burger, my favorite, the patty melt, the honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich. They're back for a limited time. Wash it all down with a Whataburger banana pudding shake. Remember, they're open 24 hours and serve breakfast 11 p. to 11 a. For the good doctor, Dr. Rany Jazayerli, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.